And we're back in the same clothes. Don't ask why. It's a mystery.
Uniforms.
It's been less than a week. None of us have changed or showered.
Speak for yourself.
So you arrive at the lizard folks village. You see a lot of huts made out of wood and debris and rocks when they can find them. What you notice mostly about the huts is that the walls are very thick. There's a lot of space between that outside layer and the inside layer. But other than that, if you weren't looking for it, you almost might not see it because it's just made of jungle parts. You can smell the smoke before you see it, but once you get to the actual village, there's a great fire in the center of the village. And kind of in that center area, opposite the great fire, there is a huge spherical stone atop this little pillar. And as you look at it, you can see that the stone is actually slowly rotating on top of the pillar. There are lizard folk everywhere. Many of them are just weaving things, blankets and clothes and whatnot, ropes. A couple of them cleaning a jaguar, digging out the guts of the jaguar and separating the skin of it from the meat. And then they've got something cooking on the fire, smells somewhat fishy. There's no vegetables in sight. It's all like meat and drink.
Well,
And,
they're lizards.
Yeah. Right.
My kind of.
Yeah, they're carnivores.
Kind of makes sense,
Carnivores.
right? So that's the town, the village, and then the lizards that brought you, they say, "Guapata, wait here."
Everybody wait. I said wait here.
A couple of them run off. Many people look up at you and give you kind of strange, long looks, and go back to whatever they were doing,
We smile awkwardly.
but still
I'm still
looking.
kind of weak, so I can't really give them. I can't really
We're in
look
the
at them
jungle
well.
now, guys. They've probably never seen a cat person before.
Speak for yourself, verbal.
It's not like, so they're not put off or alarmed by us. They're just,
I mean, you came in with their people, so
yeah.
they're watching you though.
Okay, yeah. Well, we're watching them.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
So this really dark, and you can tell he's old just because his scales have that kind of, they're not shiny like the other lizards anymore. Kind of crazy-eyed lizard folk comes out of this one hut, and he walks slowly over. He's got a limp, and he's got this cane in his hand, a staff that he uses to walk towards you. And he looks something like this. And he looks at you and says, in the common tongue where you can understand him, "Welcome. Yes, welcome. Charge. Charge. Welcome, black scales. Welcome, seekers. Yes. You, seekers. Yes.
Yes.
You seek serpent's tongue.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Black scales. Keepers. Yes. Keepers of what you seek. Welcome. You are okay.
I've been unconscious twice. You tell me how I feel.
Oh, yes. You fight a frost blossom. Yes.
I'm so sorry it attacked us first.
Yes.
We didn't mean to kill it, except we did.
Yes. Very stupid.
We didn't know.
Frost blossom. Very valuable. Yes. Very important to black scales. Yes. We grow more. It's okay that you are so stupid. So they put the jaguar on the fire. They slice it up and cook it up the way it should be. Yeah.
You gotta eat a cat.
Tastes like
There's
Would you do
also what you can now tell are crab legs, also cooking on the fire. So
seafood, or you got or cannibalism. It's just
well, I mean, you're a cat, so I mean, let's see. You see, there's an old woman. You can tell the difference between women and men lizard folk.
We can.
You can because of the breasts.
Oh, okay.
So, this old woman lizard folk is grinding up some kind of poultice, but you can tell from the look of it that this is the frost thorns, right? And there's a couple of bigger lizard folk. One in particular is huge. He's way bigger than all the rest, like twice the size. And he's got these burns all over his body. And she's taking this poultice and she's applying that to his burns. And several of the other lizard folk with him that are also badly burned, she's applying the poultice to their burns. And all of this is happening while everybody's doing their thing, weaving and cooking. And now that the hide has been removed from the jaguar, that's brought over to somebody who's now stringing it up the right way to tan it. And so just culture, right? The village is active around you. And you sort of find yourselves in the center of all this activity with this fire and this strange globe. Well, that was interesting, yeah? This is cocky, right? She's just as clueless as ever.
I'm glaring at her right now.
I mean, we made it here. We've got to be close. It can't be that far from here. They're the keepers, right? It's got to be somewhere in the village.
I'm just wondering, why are they freely giving it away, or are they? What do they expect in return?
Who cares?
We might.
I'm still glaring at her.
What did she want?
I just kind of shrug.
Cocky?
Yeah.
She wants the serpent's tongue.
She wants
Oh, she didn't actually tell us what she was after.
recognition.
Well, she did. She told you she said, that Harrigan has sent her on this quest to find the serpent's tongue, which is this artifact, right?
Oh, okay.
That allows you to not only speak any language, but to be persuasive.
Okay, alright.
So she wants the serpent's tongue, and that's what this map is supposed to be to.
Okay.
Although this village doesn't show up anywhere on that map.
She hadn't really been much help though. Can we just throw her in the fire and keep that this thing ourselves?
And this would kind of
Well,
really
we
be a
need
good
to
time
be
to
in good.
escape the
We need
ship.
to be in good standing with the captain too. We probably would be good
So
to
are
kill
we
one of
just
his
like
mates.
communally
The
sitting
lizard
around
folk did
eating?
it.
The plant, she died during the battle.
John just sort of looks around, and you almost see like a bit of a smirk appear on his face, which is the first sign of any emotion you've seen from Jaundice Jape. What was your question, Melissa?
Are we currently are we eating right now? Are we sitting around communally?
You're waiting. They're cooking.
Okay.
Things are being cooked.
Okay.
So
Am I close enough to Shasha that I can kind of lean over and talk to him in Draconian?
sure.
Okay. So I just kind of lean over and I say, I know that we're stupid, but maybe not that stupid. What do you want in exchange for the serpent's tongue?
Oh, a good question. You will bring us an offering.
What kind of offering?
The only kind that matters to the Black Scales.
And that is?
He looks around. Everything that you see here is made out of, besides just the huts themselves, it's all made out of animals. So they've got furs tanning over here. They've got some giant crab carapaces that they are apparently preparing to be used as
We can offer you.
as some sort of shield or armor or something. In fact, when you look at the warriors, their armor is made out of some sort of chitinous material.
Try it.
I just lean over one more time. We really appreciate your hospitality. We know we didn't deserve it.
It is our duty as the keepers.
So then you.
Oh no.
She can't.
She's
like,
not
relay all
communicating
that
any of
to
this
us.
to
Yeah.
any of you.
Yeah.
So this
like,
is
we need to know.
this is where that metagaming thing comes in, right? You got to separate your knowledge, what
Right.
you know is happening, from what your player or
Yeah,
your
that's
character
what, that's what I was
And-
about to
and
say.
I'm-
I was like, so is she gonna communicate all this to us?
I'm trying
It's up
not
to
to
her.
be noticed, like
She
trying not to
can't,
make it
like,
very
right in front
obvious.
of
her.
I'm just kind of like.
Yeah, and he gets that, so he's quietly drinking his drink and talking back to you in the same sort of tone that you're speaking to him.
We're just kind of smiling at everybody awkwardly, like the guards on
Smile
Monty
away.
Python.
What?
Ah.
Lean over.
At the prince.
What's with the big spinning orb?
The Serpent Stone. That is the Serpent Stone. It is
Are they still speaking Draconian?
Yes.
Or can we hear some of this?
Yeah.
No, it's being
All I can
Draconian.
hear is Draconian.
It's a gift for prophecy. If you look at the Serpent Stone, you can see that it's not actually hovering. There's water bubbling up out of this pedestal, and so this stone sphere is sitting in that water, but the water is being pushed out of the ground with such force that the sphere just sort of
Floating on.
yeah.
So we didn't hear any of that, or we're all sitting in the circle.
Yeah, you're sitting around the fire, but you can see him gesturing and then making weird
Well, what's
noises.
the
Could
blue
they
circle?
roll the perception check?
Or we can
That-
ask
that's
him.
my thing, is like,
No, but he was.
if you're trying
this
to
is
do
the guy
it,
that was
I'm trying to
speaking
do
in
it
common
secretly,
earlier.
but I
Sure.
don't know if anyone's going to notice
um,
that I'm sitting over here whispering with the old.
make an opposed stealth to their perception.
These dice.
I got
Roll
a
like
21
crap.
topped with a natural 20.
What?
She got a 21 on a nat 20.
Oh man.
Well, it depends on what your perception roll is. +2. So you got a 5 with a 20 and a 1.
So yeah, no.
Hey, fair warning, I'm still recovering from being
17.
unconscious.
So.
No, nobody notices. You
Perception.
hear some draconic whispers, but you can't separate that from all of the other draconic that's going on
But he's
around
sitting
you.
there with us, and he's the guy that was speaking common.
Yes.
Well, what's that blue sphere thing that you're pointing at?
He kind of chuckles.
Because we saw him gesture at it.
It is the Serpent's Stone. It is called. It is for prophecy. Yes, a ritual. You will see.
Oh dear.
You will see. It is okay. Do not be feared. Afraid. Sorry. Sorry.
Your comment is very good.
Where do you hail from? He says this in common.
Well, currently we're on the ship, the Wormwood, under Captain Harrigan, originally from Riddleport. Where are we now?
This Chukulasta island, Venom Island.
Venom Island. That doesn't sound good.
Venom Island, and we're after the Serpent's Tongue. I think we're about to go up against a big old snake.
Yeah.
So, you are not a nation. No.
I'm afraid.
No, night.
Many nations have sent theirs to come for the Serpent's Tongue.
What
None of them-
happened to this?
And none of them have succeeded.
We don't know.
What does the serpent's tongue
Translated, they
do?
were never seen again.
We don't know.
But you're the keepers.
Yes, yes. Keepers, yes. Protectors, yes.
But you don't mind people coming to take it.
Many have tried.
Did you protect it or did it protect itself?
No. My ancestors, they built the temple, yes. Temple of Serpent's Tongue, yes. My ancestors built. Very old. Hundreds of years old, yes. We don't build. We just keep. Yes. So yeah, but none of you know anything about the Serpent's Tongue or any of the lore that goes with it. So what you know is what the old man has told you.
Like roll a sense motive on him to see.
A cucumber? Oh. Yeah, cats have a weird thing with cucumbers.
Oh,
If a cat
yeah.
sees a cucumber or pickle, it assumes that like if you
Yeah.
put it behind them without them seeing it, when they turn around and see it, it's the first thing they assume is it's a snake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you seen those videos? Like they'll put like a cucumber or something behind it and the cat and it'll just like jump like 6 feet in the air.
We just walk by him.
But
Okay.
yeah, like they'll just be sitting there like eating
Oh my
and
gosh, I didn't know.
So what did you just ask?
So you wanted to make a.
Just sense motive if we can tell anything about him. I mean, he's
Yeah.
real smiley and
Go ahead.
What's your sense motive bonus?
+7.
Okay.
So yeah, 13. These dice suck.
He seems very sincere.
Yeah, I bet he does. It doesn't mean he is.
I'll
It's my roll,
also
but-
roll.
Sure.
I'll roll a sense motive.
You guys can all roll sense
Nothing
motive.
to lose.
Alright.
16 with an 18.
Ooh. He seems very sincere.
Okay.
15.
19.
You also
14.
feel that he is sincere.
So nothing's changed.
He's got a
Consensus
DC of
is sincere.
35.
Probably. He's the village
So-
elder after all.
You
Super
But
sincere.
Shasha, will you take us?
you hear a loud snoring coming from a nearby hut.
Well,
He kind of looks over and chuckles. Food, meal, yes, to eat. We share. They begin tearing the meat apart now that it's off of the grill, right? And they put some jaguar on a big leaf. That's their platter, right? A giant jungle leaf. And then they put some of the crab on there and they just start passing it. And it passes to him and he passes it over and it passes around until everybody has one in front of them. Eat.
Hey, Gutha, would this be cannibalism for you?
Professional courtesy.
No, because I'm a sentient kid.
Okay.
So you eat the jaguar?
Well, at first I start basically just, eating the. This is like it sounds like they put the jaguar meat on as like the foundation, and like dressed it with the crab legs. So I start eating the crab legs.
I'll just
Just start eating.
Okay. There's no like you right away recognize that there's no sort of
Hostility.
form of manners. Right? There's no etiquette. There's no social graces here. They're just chomping and slurping and sucking all the stuff out of these crab legs, right, and just throwing them into the fire. And it's very primitive. And so yeah, so everybody eats, okay, and then they come out and they've got some of those pitcher plants, right? But you can tell they've been plucked and kind of cleaned off, whatever. And they bring it to the chief Charles, and they hand it to him, and he says, "Ah, the nectar. We drink. You drink." And he takes a
Does
sip.
that have any rum?
Nectar. Yes, you know nectar.
Kuma.
It is heavily alcoholic.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Yes.
there you go, kid.
Alright.
So, who's drinking?
Sure, I am.
Yeah.
I'll drink a
We're
little.
pirates.
Okay.
I'll drink it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna
Weak, so I
like
don't
do
want
like
to
at the
right
bar.
now.
Yeah.
I just want to taste it.
Several of these things are passed around,
He
and
agreed not to.
it is the description of nectar is pretty accurate. It feels like It has that very kind of
Syrupy, sweet.
yeah. It's good. You enjoy it, but you can tell like if you drank too much of this, you'd be done. The chief, after everybody kind of finishes eating, the chief says, you dance? Yes.
No.
Yes.
He's looking down at his face.
I can't really right now.
Come. He motions you over, and you see these guys come out with these big bamboo sticks, and like really long, like 30-foot long bamboo sticks, and they position themselves around this the serpent stone, and there's 3 bamboo sticks on each side of the serpent stone in both directions, and so you've got 6 people at each end holding these bamboo sticks, and they start pounding them into the ground and creating this rhythm, right? And so then others get up and they come over there to the
Start whacking my leg against the ground, rhythm with it.
others come over and they begin like kind of dancing around inside these the pattern made by the bamboo sticks, which is just sort of a checkerboard pattern, right? And they start dancing to it. You dance, and they're just sort of hopping in between in the squares in between.
Right now, thank you.
But there's a pattern to it where you see them dancing in this counterclockwise position around the stone, and they'll reach out and touch the stone and just drag their hands along it. But as they do, the stone spins faster and faster. And so as the stone spins, the rhythm gets faster. Anybody want to join in the dance?
Oh, totally.
Sure.
Sure,
Okay.
yeah.
I mean,
I'm good.
Kind
Okay.
of rude.
Make if you're in the dance, so you're in.
Sure.
Are you dancing? You watch a little bit and you see what they're
Yeah,
doing, and they're
yeah.
just sort of,
I just kind of follow what
it's
they're
almost
doing.
like a hopscotch, right? They're just jumping in between these
I'm
things.
not
I've
good.
got lots of
How
experience
high up off the
hopping.
ground are they? Wait a minute. 'cause
Like
I'm
6
short.
inches.
Okay.
I'm not good.
Because they're just tapping them on the ground.
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
kind of weak, so I'm not gonna.
All right, you're not gonna do it, and you're gonna not do it.
I said I'll give it a shot.
I'll watch.
All right.
I'll watch and see.
I'm
Okay,
I'm very good
second
Yeah,
that.
at least for another second or two.
so make a dexterity check for me.
Oh yeah. 18.
oh, jeez.
Well, that's good.
13.
6.
6.
Please don't
Yeah.
tell me if you
6 with
Trent.
a 2.
Make a reflex
Please don't tell me
save
if you
for me, Phoebe.
11.
Okay. So your reflex save allows you to kind of catch yourself before you make a complete fool of yourself and go face down into the middle of this dance. And the rest of you dance along with them, and you join in the circle and reach out your hand and get this thing spinning, and it's a warm stone. The water coming out from that's kind of supporting the stone is almost hot.
I'm just like,
I'm trying to reach it.
You jump and slap it as you go by.
And you dance a little bit, you have a good time, you jump up and down, try to reach the stone.
it's a ball of yarn rock.
And the song ends and everybody claps. Ah, that's very good. Very good. And now, warriors dance.
Pardon?
And so now they start tapping these things on the ground, but instead of just tapping them in the same place, they tap and they move them in. And now they're moving them in and moving them out, which creates this, there's like, 2 of them are here, but then there's 2 right here, right? And so it's creating this almost like an obstacle course where in order for you to correctly step, you have to take your next step where the 2 things are, and then they'll open up, and by the time your foot goes down, you got to get your other foot out before it closes up.
Oh.
And it's coming from, it's coming from this way as well as this way. And it's really fascinating to watch because it creates this weird square shifting pattern on the ground, and the warriors come out and they dance through this thing. And they do it with ease with their hands on the sphere, and they continue to spin this sphere. who joins in the warriors dance.
Hey, Gato, this might be a chance for you.
I watched this one.
I'm not a warrior.
This might be worth watching Gato with the peg legs.
You're gonna do it?
Mhm.
Yes. Cats fly.
Oh, that's not good.
Oh.
Gato's catchphrase
Do
is
you
hold
have
my
a-
beer.
Is that still a
Yeah,
dexterity?
pretty much.
It's a dexterity
Put
check.
my beer.
Okay, 7.
I'm good.
Make a reflex check.
Does the 1 make any difference?
Make a reflex check.
Oh, 12 with a 20 on top of it.
You stumble gracefully out of the dance area, and if you had had a leg there, you would have gotten it caught in the
Kudos to
thing.
you, Gato.
Like, I'll take my beer back.
I'll take my.
No one else to dance.
Oh,
To try.
I bet they're probably like it too by this point.
No, it's not. I'm gonna get killed. Or
I
broken
know I'm
leg or
not a
something.
warrior.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm thinking about it, but I still feel like I should be leery.
I mean, it's just bamboo.
Yeah. Well, just like of the.
I mean, they laughed at Gato, right? There's some chuckling as Gato stumbles out, and they clearly they're not hostile towards
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
but they don't mind making you look stupid.
I don't know. I guess I'll do it.
Yay!
So what am I doing? Dexterity.
Yeah, just a dexterity check. Add your dex
You can't
bonus.
make fun of yourself. The only everyone else will do it for you.
10.
10. All right, make a reflex save.
25. With a 19.
Oh man, you just like your foot gets caught, but you manage to yank it out before the two bamboos close all the way. And then you do this tap dance through and around, and everybody's like,
Pirate dance.
oh, you hear a couple gasps.
Way to go, Gillian!
Yeah. And now they start throwing out little blossoms.
At him?
Just into the
Oh, okay.
into the area, right? And so you see that their leader Charles has got this smile on his face as he's grabbing these blossoms that the ladies have brought him, and he throws these blossoms out. And so you kind of watch him, and you see the warriors that are in there dancing. They start stooping down and grabbing blossoms off the ground. And you can tell that this is just kind of a show-off move, right? If I can do the dance and reach down and grab a blossom, and then they'll put it, I don't know where they put it. They don't have ears.
Yeah.
Under the scale.
They'll put it on, on their armor or whatever, under their clothes that they're wearing, and sort of adorn themselves as they do this dance. And they look at you to kind of challenge you
Okay.
to do
All
it
right.
as well.
All right. All right.
All right.
I accept the challenge.
Make your dexterity check.
Dexterity.
Yes.
Are you out once you're out, or can you jump back in?
You can jump back in.
18.
18. You pick up a couple of flowers,
Okay.
and there's some clapping for you too. They're like, wow.
That's one of the reasons why I jumped in. I'm
Make
like,
a
I have a
reflex
good
save.
dexterity
I
modifier.
got a 19 on it.
You pick up some flowers as well, and they're all amazed at this this bass drum snare that's going on.
I crit my reflex.
Okay, well you don't get the flowers, but you do manage to stay in the dance
Okay.
and don't trip and fall and mess it all up.
That's good.
Yeah, you could tell that if you tripped and fell, you would land on top of some of these things, and it would just kind of. I mean,
Yeah.
others would continue, but it would be something for everybody to laugh at. So you two get several flowers and you dance this thing, and there's after it's over, the song finishes, and there's much applause, and some of the younger lady lizard folk bring you both an offering of the pitcher plant. Squatta!
Oh, something he likes.
Take some of it.
And Charles says, you did well. You did well. Come to the fire. Now we honor those we So the
I'm
warriors,
not talking about the planet.
the warriors take the the warriors take the closest seat to the fire, and the burned warriors, especially the big one, come over and they sit down right there, and everyone gathers around them, kind of farther out. And Charles reaches into this pouch on his belt, and he grabs some sort of a powder. He throws this powder onto the fire, and this purple bluish flame leaps up, and this gas, this smoke, sort of fills the area around you, and you can smell this sweet smell and this smoke, like sandalwood, and it's an earthy smell, but it's a good smell, and you can tell as you take a couple of breaths of this that it's going to have an effect on your awareness and your consciousness.
I was already unconscious. Let's go for a third time.
Okay.
Hold our breath.
You can
To
try to
keep
hold
from-
your breath.
Yeah, to like
I'll
just
try.
really keep from inhaling too much of it.
Sure.
Okay.
You said it smells
Do I have to make some
It does
sort
smell
of
good.
check?
I'll try, but here's.
No, you don't have to make a check yet.
Okay.
So you can hold your breath if you're not doing anything else. You can hold your breath for a number of rounds roughly equal to twice your constitution modifier.
0, 0, so I guess I'm not gonna try that.
I mean, twice your constitution. Sorry. Your constitution score.
26.
Right, so your constitution score is 13?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can hold your breath roughly 26 rounds.
Whew.
Before you have to start making constitution checks.
Oh, okay.
Right? At that point, you will
I just
actually...
don't want to inhale too much of it.
Right.
Yeah.
So you can hold your breath for like
Okay.
a minute and 20 seconds.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So you're breathing it in. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I'm like,
that's the
yeah.
sea witch in you.
Yeah, I'm breathing.
All right, so who's holding their breath? Joe?
I'm like, this smells like cat.
Not like obviously.
Yeah,
I
but-
don't
Yeah,
wanna,
not
like-
It
holding
doesn't-
my breath.
You don't have to go,
Yeah, no. Yeah.
but you
yeah.
can,
Just
you know,
attempting to
But
not.
not breathing deeply.
Like you said, I realized that it would affect me, so I'm
Yeah.
trying to
Yeah.
hold off.
okay.
So,
Just lightly breathe.
All right,
Yeah.
what are you doing, Veravale? Are you breathing or holding your breath?
Well, with the current HP I'm at, I don't think I can really do like hold it for a long time. Like I can hold it for a little bit. But I think that's all I can do.
You can hold your breath up to twice your constitution score.
So you can hold it for 24 rounds if you want.
yeah.
Oh, okay, so I guess I'll hold it for this one.
Okay. Joel, are you holding or breathing? You
Um,
said it smells like catnip, so I'm assuming you're breathing.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm basically depending on how severe the effects feel like they would be.
Mm-hmm.
I'm basically either like if it seems like it's just like something minor, I'm probably breathing normally. If it seems like it could have a heady effect real fast, then I'm probably like limiting my breathing a little bit, but I'm
Okay.
not hiding.
Okay. Patrick?
No,
Are
I
you...
said just kind of light, not
Yeah,
deeply
light
breathing,
breathing,
just
yeah.
light breathing.
Yeah.
Not.
Yeah.
I'm
Alright.
worried about the hints of this giant snake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And trying to be all sweet to us
Yeah.
and get
Sure.
us drunk.
Yeah.
And,
Sure.
I don't have a good feeling, so I'm
And
trying to keep my
offerings
wits
and-
about me. Like, I'm realizing that they're not a threat or whatever, but
well,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's safe. You're playing it safe.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So, for those of you who breathe deeply, it's going to hit you first, right? So the first thing you notice is that just all of the sounds of the jungle fade away, and what's left is just the overwhelming sound of this crackling fire. Okay? And the fire just consumes your attention. And the air around you begins to sort of ripple. And
It's acid smoke.
the colors become extremely bright. And there's this, the fire pops and a log rolls out, and there's these flurries and this kind of bright flash of light. And your eyes have trouble adjusting to this. But when you can really see again, you see hovering before you this giant green feathered serpent whose tail comes down into the fire and is a part of the fire. And he's got these giant wings coming out of his back with all of these colored feathers on it, all the colors of the rainbow, but the colors just sort of cycle through the feathers. They shift and they change. And the serpent speaks to you with the voice of the fire. You feel like it's saying something, you should know what it's saying. And you feel that there's this intense pressure to sort of decipher its message, to understand it, but it would take an act of great concentration as well as creativity on your part to really understand what the serpent is saying to you. You also at the same time feel this sort of tangible pressure to understand this thing in a certain amount of time or you're going to lose it. So it is a vision, and you have a limited amount of time to express to us what that vision is. So Melissa,
To express to us.
tell us your vision.
Guys, I am seeing this great feathered snake. It's just rising up with these giant wings, and the colors are just changing, and it's so amazing. I wish you guys could see this. It's trying to tell me something, but I don't know what it is. It's just, the colors are so intense, and it's the most beautiful and scary thing I've ever seen. I can't tell if it's smiling or it's just talking, but I don't understand what it's saying. It's just it sounds like the fire. That's all I can hear. The colors. It's just the most vibrant colors I've ever seen.
You get a flash of a childhood memory. What is it?
Walking along the shore with my dad.
What happens?
I'm looking for seashells, and I cut my foot on a seashell, and I'm really hurt, and he takes me back home because it's bleeding, and he bandages me up, and he tells me he's always going to take care of me.
Okay. You're brought to a little bit later on in your life after your dad is no longer in the picture. What is this flash?
Just being hopeless and not knowing what to do with my life, and also feeling sad because I feel like the only thing I can do is sell everything and leave.
And now you get a vision of the future. What do you see?
I see me on a ship and just standing on top of the deck with the wind going through my hair and breathing in the salty air.
She's good at this.
Tell me you didn't just wing that.
Gosh.
Glad I did not bring this stuff in.
I'm glad I
Stuff
wasn't
is
breathing
the
very
only
deeply.
way to do
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
we try to go up with something, it's gonna sound all wrong at the time to actually try to say it.
Backstory.
Good, because
That's a
you're up
long
next.
story, but the
Do I have to go with what's
like that.
remaining in the
Nope.
timer, or
Drama
That will
class.
go away.
Yeah, I always cost too
So
much.
you get an unfair advantage because you get to think about it for that long.
I'm not gonna think about it. Think about it before I get screwed up.
Is that still? Am I still having a vision? Or?
Oh yeah, your vision
Okay.
is still there if you want.
Oh, okay. No,
Whatever you
I'm-
want to add, you
I'm
can
good.
add it.
So, well, I guess
I'm
basically,
gonna burst into
She's
tears.
not-
By the way, I'm just
Yeah,
gonna start.
so
I'm just gonna bawl and
she-
cry and cry and cry.
She stops expressing to you what she sees, right? And she just goes into this obviously very emotional state. And you don't hear any of that about the vision that she just explained, right? All of her stuff about her dad and all that, that's just her personal vision. That is what the coatl said to her. All right, and now it is Joel's turn.
So do not take a breath.
Tell us your vision.
my vision, I see this snake apparition come out of the fire, and I hear it speaking something. It sounds like it's with some urgency, but I can't tell what it's saying. It's saying something in a foreign language, and so I'm sitting there basically, I don't know if it can understand me or not, but I'm trying to, say, I can understand you're trying to say something to me, but I'm not sure what it is. Is there something else you can do to show me? What are you trying to communicate?
You get a vision of your childhood. What do you see?
I see myself training at the temple where I grew up, training to be a war priest. I was really enamored with it as a kid. Always heard about the holy wars and how you fought in, the service to your gods and everything. It was really, I thought it was basically the righteous path, the way to be a good person, to fight battles in the name of your deity.
And in this training, what specifically is happening? Who's training you?
Been one of the temple masters, that I would have probably known pretty well. I was basically a ward of the temple. My parents sent me to the temple to live. After I expressed the desire to, used to be a war priest, they sent me to the temple to live and to be trained. So it was one of the teachers there at the temple was instructing me in the combat arts.
Okay. And now you have a flash forward to the past, somewhere in the past 2 years, after you've lost your. Actually, let's go to that. How'd you lose your foot? That's your vision.
How did I lose my foot? It was in one of my first wars actually. I was riding in on a horse, and one of the enemy got a good strike as I was riding past them and managed to cut my leg off. I used the horse to escape and get back to camp for medical treatment.
Alright. Who treated you?
One of the temple healers. There were quite a few of them around there, and the service to Sarah and Race, so healing was pretty well available if you could get out of the battle.
Okay. You did. You feel very lucky for having gotten out of that battle. You feel that the coatl gives you that peace, that feeling of being very fortunate to have survived that. He reminds you of that. And nobody else was breathing deeply, right? Some of you get some colors and you get a little bit trippy, but nothing big.
Thank you.
And you are blessed
Alright.
by the coatl for partaking in the ritual.
Now she takes the breath.
Yeah. And by the time you're ready to breathe again, the smoke has cleared. They may still be a little bit in their visions,
Perfect card.
but overall, you don't have any vision of the coatl, anything weird like that. I hope this has been a good night for you. Yes.
Very much.
You did well. Good dancing. You are emotional. This is good. That means the serpent has spoken to you. Yes. A blessing. A blessing.
Did either of the other two guys in our group
You don't know.
participate? No.
You don't know if they were breathing or not.
Oh, okay.
If
Did
they
they
were-
participate in the dance?
No.
Okay.
No.
They're lame.
They're lame.
How can you be lamer than a one-legged cat?
I don't know, but they figured it out.
That's pretty well for a one-legged cat.
Yeah, you did.
I haven't doing all this slick shit thing.
So you're
Could have got in trouble trying to say that.
they show you to a hut that you will share. It's a larger hut and it's well insulated. And he says, "You sleep here. Yes. Tomorrow you hunt. Yes. Bring offering for the keepers. Yes. Get sleep. You sleep tonight. Yes." He steps out. There's no door on any of the huts. They're all just open.
Well, okay, so there's no doors, so we don't really have anyone walking by can probably see it and stuff, but is there anyone that's particularly noticeable hanging around outside, pops up behind and listening to what we say?
No.
So should we sleep in shifts and have someone that is basically maybe sitting or laying down, basically
Somebody stays awake for 4 hours.
maybe even
Yeah.
acting like they're asleep, but that is still keeping watch?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
takes the first shift?
His idea.
Hey, first shift's the nicest, because then you go to bed and you don't wake up till morning. I always did that.
All right. So you'll be first shift. About how many hours?
Well, we need to sleep at least 8, and there are 5 of us, so I'd say 2-hour shifts would get us 10 hours.
Okay. So first shift. Who's second?
I'll take second.
Okay. Third.
Third.
Fourth.
Yeah, unless they wake us up at a certain time tomorrow, we can each take a 2-hour shift
Okay.
and still get 8 hours of sleep.
So Veravale, you're going to take the 5th shift, which gives you 8 hours of sleep all the way through. And so each of you that sleeps a complete 8 hours, so you get 2 hit points back. The rest
I'm
of
not
you have to
missing
break up
any.
your sleep
I'm good.
because he's first and she's
At
last.
least get half of it? Like
Sure.
One? Okay.
The rest of you get 1 hit point back, and
I'll take
we
it.
will
I
end it
told
there at the
You
first
always want
night on the
first
island.
shift.